if you're hoping this is going to be one of those videos about how to fold up a pop-up background. It's not, although actually now I say that, perhaps I should do that at the end. Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching Adorama TV, brought to you by Adorama, the camera store that's got everything for us photographers, and this video is all about these things. Speedlights. Or to be more exact, it's about using speedlights as hair lights. I'm going to set up a kind of a beauty lit shot, and speedlights have a few sort of unique properties that make them very suitable as hair lights, but spoiler alert, the kind of theory works with any light at all. So what I'm going to need is, well, I'm definitely going to need another flash. Whilst I'm getting that, you should click on the subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss a video right here on Adorama TV. So let's get another flash, let's get some light set, let's get a model in, let's get shooting. To help me out today, I've got the amazing Sophie. Sophie's going to be the model for this photo session, and I've got Speedlights as my lights, and they come with disadvantages and advantages. I guess the only disadvantage is there's no modelling lamp and I can't see where the light's going to fall, particularly the hair light, so there will be some trial and error. But before we get to taking any real photos, there's something really important I need to check first back here at the camera. So my camera settings, I'm at ISO 200, which is the native ISO for my particular camera. I'm at f2.8 wide open for this lens and a shutter speed of 0.002 of a second. Now that's going to mean I'm using high-speed sync flash, but that doesn't particularly matter. What matters is this photo right here. No flash, no picture. That means I've got control of the ambient light in the room, and these are the darkest shadows I can capture, which means I've got space to add some light, for example, on Sophie's hair. So you might think I'm going to start by setting up the hair light. I mean, it's what this video is all about, but actually it's more important right now to get the key light right, which is another speed light around here. This is the Flashpoint X1. And the reason for that is, well, we're going to add the hair light as a fill light, and we've got to get it balanced with something, and it's best to balance it after you've got your main light set. So I've dialed in 1/4 power for my main light. I don't know if that's right or wrong. Let's take a test photo, see how it looks. Here we go, Sophie. And it looks pretty good. I like the exposure on Sophie, but most importantly, we've got some shadows over on the left-hand side of this image, because if we're going to add some light, we need to add that into shadows. The hair light is on its own separate group, so I can add it in and control it independently of the key light. I've got it on 1/8 power. I don't know if that's the right power, but it's in the middle of the power range, so it's a good place to start. You'll also notice there's no light modifier up there, it's just a bare flash. Let's take a test photo and see how this looks. Okay, Sophie, here we go. And it looks, well, it works, doesn't it? I can see light on top of Sophie's head. But this is a speedlight and it has one extra feature, which is I can press a button here on the transmitter and zoom this in, so it condenses the light, stops it spreading quite so much. Let's see if this changes the photo. Here we go. And it does a little bit, but it also shows one of the main problems of using a bare hard light. You get this really nasty shadow, and in this case, hard light and soft light just don't mix. And as you can see, I've changed from the small hard light source to a bigger, softer light. I've gone with this glow strip box. It actually doesn't have to be a strip box. It's a useful thing to use because it doesn't take up too much space in the top of my studio. The key light, well, that's exactly the same. No change on that whatsoever. So I'm actually going to turn the key light off and just take a picture with the hair light at the back, just to see what that is doing. I'm not going to change the power. I'll leave that exactly as it was before, but I have gone back to my wide setting for the zoom. Okay, Sophie, quick little test photo. And at 1/8 power, it's doing, well, next to nothing, because it now has a much larger light modifier to fill. So I'm going to take that power up at least 2 stops to 1/4 power and then 1/2 power. Let's try that. And that's much better. Now you can see what the hair light is doing. It's lighting Sophie's hair and also the top of her shoulders. So although we call this a hair light, it's actually a hair and shoulders light. I just need to turn the key light back on again, and let's take a test photo like this. We'll see how the two work together. Okay, Sophie. And that works really well. We've got the key light lighting the front of Sophie, the hair light is lighting Sophie's hair and shoulders, And if there is a shadow in front of Sophie, it's pretty much disappeared. It's certainly a lot softer than it was with the bare hard light we started with. So that's everything set. Let's just take a few photos like this. Sophie, are you ready? Okay, here we go. In case you're wondering, Sophie is resting on a bit of metal I rescued from the recycling pile. It really is just a reflector, but with more character. I've moved things around a bit for this setup because although it worked really well last time, I felt that the background needed a bit more light, and I could have added in a third speed light to light the background, or I can get the hair light to do double duty. So I've got it positioned above Sophie, but in front of the background. So a little bit of the light will spill onto the background and give me a little bit of illumination. It's not going to be a lot, but what's definitely not going to change is the key light. I haven't moved it, I haven't touched it. So I'm going to turn that off and just see what results I'm getting with only the hair light in this position. Okay, Sophie, here we go. I've dropped the power down to 1/4, and you can see that there is still light on Sophie's shoulder, still light on Sophie's head, and a little bit of light in the background. And I can actually control the amount of light on that background by spinning this strip box around. So if I turn it just a little bit more so it's a little closer to the background, I'm still going to get light on Sophie's hair. Here we go. But now I'm going to get a little bit more light on the background. It's a little subtle difference, but it works. And when I combine that with the main light, which I'll turn back on again, let's see how they go. Here we go, Sophie. And that gives a really nice balance between light on Sophie's hair and light on the background. So I think what I'll do now is I'll take a few pictures like this, but spin the little strip box around as we take the photos and see what effects we can get. Sophie, are you ready? Okay, let's take a few photos like this. It's worth noting that the distance between Sophie and the background is definitely affecting the result, as is the size of the strip box. Change any of those variables and the results will be different. Not necessarily bad different, but definitely different. For the final setup, I've moved the hair light ever so slightly. So previously, the front edge was kind of just slightly behind Sophie. Now the front edge is just slightly in front of Sophie because this hair light is going to do triple duty. It's going to light the background, it's going to light Sophie's hair, and it's going to light part of her face. This should give us a really kind of moody feel to this picture. However, to get there, I need to adjust a few things. You'll notice that the key light has gone because, well, that's now technically the key light. I've turned the key light off. I've turned the other light off. Let's just see what this light is doing at the same power we had before. Here we go. It's doing okay, but because this is now going to be effectively the key light, the brightest light in this scene, I'm going to turn that power up from 1/4 power to 1/2 power. One more stop of light required. And that's going to throw just enough light onto Sophie. So we still have an awful lot of shadows. We have light on the top of Sophie's hair. We have light on her shoulder, and we have a little bit of light just coming across the front. But because this is so dark, I'm going to take what was the old key light and make it a fill light. Now this wants to go on the opposite side to the hair light. In other words, it's going to light the shadows. Power-wise, I've no idea. I don't know. Let's see. If I turn it on, it was on 1/4 power. Let's see how that looks with the current setup. Here we go, Sophie. And I think that's perhaps, for my taste, just a little bit bright. So I'm going to take that down to 1/8 power. Here we go. And I think that feels a lot more balanced. I like the fact we've got some shadows in here. And if you want to see what that light is doing on its own, it looks like this. which on its own doesn't look particularly nice, but when they're combined together, it works. And that's it. I think we're ready to take a few photos like this, and you know what? I have a feeling I might make these black and white. We'll see. Okay, Sophie, here we go. The headlight is also the background light, and it's a key light, but it's not really the most flexible position as a key light, which means that Sophie needs to keep looking towards it to maintain light in her eyes. As always, you'll find links to all of the gear I've used in this video in the video description below. And it's worth taking a look because you might have the same gear and you might have different gear. And different gear isn't always a bad thing because it will give you more options. You need to experiment a little bit with your photography, and that includes a hair light, because depending on the subject, depending on their hair color, and depending on your taste, the settings I've used, you might need to adjust a little bit. Now, if you've enjoyed this video or you've got any questions, just leave me a comment down below. Click on the bell icon and you'll never miss a video right here in Adorama TV. And the subscribe button, where is it? Oh, yeah, hang on, I remember. Sorry, I promised, didn't I? Here we go, look. Here's how you do it. You get the corner, put it into your waist, arms out wide, cross your arms over, and just let it naturally fall into place. Subscribe button. I'm Gavin Hoey. Thanks for watching.